Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2024 Black Desert Championship Initial Research Show. If you aren't familiar with the Black Desert Championship, it's fine because it's a brand new event on the PGA Tour. We are in Ivins, Utah. Ivins is, I believe, how you pronounce that. But we are in Utah for the first time in over 50 years. Hopefully you had a lot of success at the Sanderson Farms, which leads me to give a humongous shout out to Gabe for his stellar lineup that he sent me in the $3 birdie contest. He finished second in that contest. A massive week for Gabe. I've worked with him for a couple of years now, and I say it every show, but you really are missing out if you aren't subscribed to his article and following him over on social media. He's a really good dude, first off, and then beyond that, he really knows what he's talking about. It's been great working with him, so congratulations, Gabe, on your humongous hit this week in terms of a fantastic lineup for the Sanderson Farms. And if you had success, please jump in chat or let me know in the comments or reach out to me on social media. I would love to be able to shout out more members of the community who have success week in and week out. But again, I cannot stress it enough. Congratulations to Gabe. Go follow him and subscribe to his article, and you're going to really have a leg up on a lot of your other fellow contestants. So congratulations, Gabe. For yours truly, it was a pretty middling week. The Keith Mitchell bogey on 18 today took away a lot of winnings, and then Kevin Yu winning in the playoff took a lot of winnings. So it was an okay week. I'm very happy with my performance, but it could have been a lot better. So we're going to try and keep our momentum moving forward to this brand new tournament. A tournament, and of course, that has not been seen on the PGA Tour. So we're going to have a lot of inferences, a lot of guesswork this week. But tonight we're going to go hole by hole for Black Desert Resort and figure out the players that we might think play well, how we think the course is going to play, all of that. So let's get into it. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. It is the best golf analytic tool out there for your money. It's going to make you a much smarter golf gambler and a much better golf DFS player. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description of the video, there are links to all of the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally I post research every Monday around previous winners of the tournament, some patterns that they all share, and whatnot. Obviously, nothing for this week since this is a brand new tournament. But if you want to usually see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and my top player usage in the DFS contest I play that comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show. You would have seen all of the good plays that I had. Played quite a bit of Keith Mitchell. Played a lot of Ryan Fox, who was lurking outside at a small chance earlier today to make a run at it. You would also seen the poor decisions like Adams Vinson, Garrick Higo, who I was pretty high on. So if you want to see the weekly betting cards and the players I'm using most often in my lineups, give me a follow over at X. And then lastly, for social media, I mentioned it before, but I'm going to mention it and stress it again. Gabe's handle is in the description. He writes a fantastic article called The Fringe. It's a really good way to start your week of preparation, and he updates you throughout the week with his own version of research, be in course form or course history, recent form. And if you are a subscriber to his article, you're going to be able to join us in his Substack chat every Wednesday evening as we continue the DFS talk over there. We talk about game theory and our favorite areas of the price board, players we're gravitating to and staying away from, players that we're nervous about, either positively or negatively. It is a great way to really prepare for the DFS slate. So make sure you're subscribed to his article. Go show him some support as well. Follow him over on social media and join us in those Substack chats every Wednesday evening. It's very entertaining, informative. Can't say enough good things about it. Then as well, for or in terms of communication for this evening, feel free to jump in chat. Would love to hear from you all. How much do you know of the course? Who do you think is the early favorite this week? All of that good stuff. What do you think is going to play well here as we go through the evening, looking at hole by hole for Black Desert Resort? So would love to hear from you all, and I'd love to hear how you did for the Sanderson Farms. But we're here for the Black Desert Championship, so let's do our initial research for the 2024 Black Desert Championship. And we're going to start with the GCSAA tournament fact sheet. This would have been really, really awkward had this not come out, considering this is a brand new tournament. The Black Desert Championship being played at Black Desert Resort, and again, I might be butchering this, I apologize, but I believe it's called Ivins, Utah. Black Desert Resort is a Tom Weiskopf design, who passed away last year, actually in the middle of getting this course prepared for play. So this is a Tom Weiskopf design. He has a few courses on the PGA Tour. The most notable thing about Black Desert Resort is that it is a golf course in the midst of a lava field. Hence how it gets its name, winding through some canyons from volcanic activity thousands and thousands of years ago. The course itself is a par 71 for tournament play. We will see in Pro Visualizer it's a par 72 when you go play as an amateur and whatnot. But for tournament play, it is a par 71 measuring just under 7,400 yards, 7,371 yards. So fairly long, but that yardage is misleading as this does sit at some elevation. I believe this is about an hour and a half to 2 hours from Las Vegas, somewhat in the mountains of Utah. So at elevation, ball will travel a little bit. These greens, we've seen this specific style of green once on the PGA Tour. This, what I jokingly refer to as James Bond bent. This 007 XL bent grass, which is what what Colonial, the Charles Schwab Challenge, their renovated greens are now this 007 XL bent. So we are looking at some bent greens. The stimp is listed at 12, which would be fast, maybe even lightning, but definitely looking at some faster greens, faster bent greens. The greens themselves, 7,000 square feet, fairly large. It is my understanding that there is not a lot of rough on this course, and that is kind of displayed here, where there are there's twice as much fairway as there is rough. It is my understanding that the rough is very, very little. It goes from fairway to essentially native area. And native area can include a lot of things, including lava rock. So, wide fairways, but if you are not in the fairway, going to be very, very difficult to play out of anything other than fairway. Not a whole lot of bunkers here. Sanderson Farms and the Country Club of Jackson had, I believe, 56 bunkers. This has 12 less. Only 2 holes with water in play, so not a whole lot of hazards in that regard. Again, the danger of the course comes into the native area, lava rock and some sloping canyons and whatnot. Let's see, we are on bent on the greens. The fairways are a different bent grass, a Dominator bent. The rough is only 2 inches long, whatever little rough there is. The average fairway widths in the landing areas says it's 30 yards, which would be very wide, or would be pretty wide already. I have seen other notes that some fairways are as wide as 70 yards, which is seemingly forever by PGA Tour standards. Certainly a stark contrast from the Country Club of Jackson, whose fairways are very, very narrow. But there's a look at Black Desert Resort from a GCSAA tournament fact sheet standpoint. Again, a Tom Weiskopf design, Fairly long par 71, but that yardage is a little bit misleading, as this does sit at a little bit of elevation, so it's going to play much shorter. We are on brand new, or at least fairly new, green type, grass type. This 007 bent, which has only been seen one other time on the PGA Tour, which was this past Charles Schwab Challenge. Greens are pretty large, 7,000 square feet, whereas the average is about 6,000. Lots of fairway, very little rough, only 2 holes with water in play. So with that, we're going to move to Fantasy National and look at the players in the field this week. And much like the Sanderson Farms and the Procore, although the Procore had a little bit of a stronger field, this really does feel like a pretty weak field. Your only top 50 player in the world rankings is Chris Kirk, who's not even up here in terms of top strokes gained total. Whoops, it would help if I spelled his name right. Chris Kirk is your only top 50 player in the world in the OWGR. You've got your usual suspects here: Keith Mitchell, Bo Hostler coming off the playoff loss to Kevin Yu. Some other players that played pretty well this week: Bridgman, Seamus Power, Zach Blair's a Utah native. I believe it's Patrick Fishburne who has played this course once before. In its brief, opening. I believe it opened early 2023, so it has not been open very long. I believe Patrick Fishburne is the one player who has played this course. Some other players here: Ryan Fox, Daniel Berger, who played quite well down in Jackson, Matt McCarty, the Korn Ferry Tour grad. So your usual suspects here in terms of your fall events. Not a very strong field seemingly this week in Utah. Normally we would go to the course breakdown in Fantasy National, but of course, with this being a new tournament, they don't have any data. So it's at this point, we're going to go to Pro Visualizer. And we're going to do a hole-by-hole scan and look at Black Desert Resort. See if I can't switch that map up. There you go. So there's a look at the terrain. Well, it was a quick look, and then that came up. The one difference here, and I can't confirm this, but I imagine that this par 5 13th is the converted par 4. Remember, this is a par 71 for tournament play. So I imagine this has been turned into a long par 4. Let's see. So you got a fairly long 3,600 on the front, 3,600 on the back for 7,200 roughly. Again, a little bit shorter. And I believe I misspoke from the tournament fact sheet. I thought it said 7,300. So we'll have to compare this with the new course graph template, which I took from PGAtour.com. These are the whole yardages. So we'll have to get a look here and see where the discrepancies are. But mainly the big reason why I'm going into Pro Visualizer, just want to get a good feel for how the course is laid out, where some of the trouble lies on this course. So as we go through this hole by hole, you see hole 1 listed at 444, and in fact, just so I am not leading you all astray, I am going to go ahead and bring up the PGAtour.com. So you see PGA Tour has hole 1 at 489. So I'm just going to have this off over to the side, and that way we can confirm or see where the discrepancies are, because I'm pretty sure the GCSA tournament fact sheet said 7,300 yards, whereas Pro Visualizer has it closer to 7,200 yards. So right off the bat, it looks like this is 40 yards of difference between PGA Tour and Pro Visualizer, but nonetheless, a dogleg left, and this is going to be pretty common throughout Black Desert Resort, in the sense that we're going to have quite a few doglegs. You're going to have to maneuver through canyons. There's a lot of elevation changes on this course as well, which also provides a little bit of defense to the course. So hole 1 looks like a fairly mid-length drive and a mid-length approach to a green that is protected by a couple of bunkers here. Hole 2, gosh dang it, that is not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry, let me get my life in order here. There we go, that's what I wanted. Okay, so mid-length par 4 here. Wow, sorry, my mouse is really sensitive. My apologies. Let me try to get this in order here. Hole 2, again, another dogleg right, par 4, pretty short. Listed at 398 here on Pro Visualizer, roughly the same on PGA Tour. This green looks pretty massive though. 2 distinct sections of this green. We have a front left. Okay. This is the double green. So this is the second hole's green, and I believe it shares a green with hole 8. I believe that's how that works. So this is a double green, akin to what you see very commonly over in Europe, especially in Britain, Scotland, Open Championships. This is a double green. So hole 2, dogleg right. Looks like you have quite a bit of room here to set up for a pretty short iron or wedge in. Hole 3, our first par 3, with a sand trap in the middle of the green, akin to Riviera, and that of that ilk. Par 3, 196, 198 is what PGA Tour has, so a fairly good length par 3 here. Again, no water. Hole 4 looks like the course was still under construction when this picture was taken. This is a 488 yard par 4, so a pretty good length par 4 here. Looks like it wanders through the canyons to another green that is pretty protected seemingly by these canyons up here. Not a lot of miss room. So right off the bat, I'm getting the feeling that approach play is going to be pretty strong. Even though these greens are big, there doesn't look to be a lot of miss room here. Hole 5, one of the two drivable par 4s. You have a drivable par 4 on each 9 here at Black Desert Resort. So this is 320 yards. Green protected by a bunker, it looks like here, I believe. So, risk reward par 4. Of course, Pro Visualizer sets this up as a 2-shot hole, but most professionals, and we saw this at the Sanderson Farms on 15, the drivable par 4 at Country Club of Jackson. Most pros are going to go for this green in 2. Hole 6, another slight dogleg right, 450 yards. Big bunker complex here. But again, doesn't look like there's a whole lot of miss room. Not a whole lot of miss room. Seemingly around the green. It is pretty wide fairway. So it looks like accuracy probably not the most premium thing that we're going to be wanting to look at this week, at least off the tee. Hole 7, our first par 5, 597 on Pro Visualizer, roughly the same for PGA Tour. Green is literally bunkerless, which would lead me to think that there are steep runoffs on all sides, seemingly like this is on a plateau almost. But winding through the canyon, approach shot to a green, probably sitting up on a perch would be my guess. Hole 8, par 3. Again, there's the second green we talked about earlier. This is the other half of that double green. A very short par 3, especially when you start factoring in a little bit of elevation. Only 156 yards here. Hole 9, closing with a par 5. A little bit longer on PGA Tour. PGA Tour has this at 587 yards. But again, pretty forgivingly wide fairway here. Looks like the green, again, only really protected by this lone bunker, but not a whole lot of miss room. I'm assuming that if this isn't canyon, this is, if it's canyon, of course, it's going to be unplayable if you hit in there, but could just be unplayable if you aren't accurate going for this green, trying to hit off lava rock and whatnot. So you're gonna have to be pretty darn precise with your irons, I believe, this week. But there's a look at hole 9. Again, fairly straightforward par 5 here. Number 9, number 10, another one of these dog legs. 430 yards is what PGA Tour has. Again, seemingly a very, very wide and forgiving fairway to a green that probably has a pretty big slope here. Pretty big false front would be my guess here. But a short iron or wedge in. Hole 11. This is the first water hole or water danger hole, if you will, which is right here. Hole 11, pretty long par 4, 532 yards, where you see Pro Visualizer has it at 487. So, long par 4, demanding par 4. Again, pretty forgiving off the tee, it looks like, but a very demanding long iron into a green protected by water in front. Hole 12. This might be the other water hole here, if they count that. But a long par 4, 459. So again, pretty standard, forgiving fairway to a green, protected by bunkers, but other than that, fairly straightforward. 13, long par 4. Yeah, so I was right. Hole 13, where Pro Visualizer, and I imagine if you go and play this course as an amateur, this will be a par 5, listed at 530. Per the PGA Tour, this is your par 4, or this is a par 4 at 519. So for tournament play, this is turned into a very long par 4. Okay, so this is where the other water is, not on 12, but on 13. So a little bit of a demanding tee shot, so long as you're not left, to another long demanding iron shot to a green that looks like it's fairly small, at least compared to others here on the course, and then seems pretty well protected by 3 bunkers. But this green seems like it's the smallest, or at least, from an aerial view, looks like it's the smallest on the course. So, interesting. Demanding hole, probably. 14, your second drivable par 4, listed at 322. Again, green, an open green, no bunkers other than long left and short right or short middle. So again, I would imagine 95% of pros will be going at this green and off the tee, going for the green. So probably a very good scoring opportunity. Hole 15, long par 3, 200 yards. Couple of bunkers protecting what looks to be a pretty massive green. Okay. Hole 16, fairly straightforward, seemingly par 4. One big bunker guarding a kind of an oval-shaped green, I suppose. A slanted oval green. But, again, the gist that I'm getting is pretty forgiving off the fairway, or off the driver. I mean, lots of room, so long as you're not hitting it into an area in a different zip code, is the impression I'm getting. 16 here is listed at 500 yards, so there's another 50 yards tacked on from Pro Visualizer. So looking like they might have a tee box, further back up in here, maybe for the tournament, would be my guess. Up in here somewhere. 506 yard par 4. So a long demanding par 4. 17, very, very straightforward par 3 at 150 yards. Would be interesting. Probably got some elevation change here. Probably is what's contributing to the difficulty or the challenge of the hole. And then 18, a par 5 at 570 yards. Big dogleg left, but again, look at all this forgiveness off the tee that players have. I imagine this is probably one of the wider fairways. And then you see no water danger, only a bunker behind. Most of these pros are going to be going for this green in 2. So there is a look at Black Desert Resort in terms of a Pro Visualizer view, a hole-by-hole view. We'll come back to Fantasy National, and again, what we have to work with. Actually, before we do that, my apologies. Before we do that, let's go ahead to Microsoft Excel. I'll bring up the new course template that I make for each new course on the PGA Tour. So here's the whole composition chart, which would normally be in Fantasy National for Black Desert Resort. Our par 3s, we have 2 pretty darn short par 3s at 152 and 156 on the scorecard. So 2 pretty short par 3s. We have 1 mid-length and 1 that just stretches over 200 at 202. So the par 3s are pretty evenly split in terms of length. The par 4s, we have 2 drivable par 4s. We have another short par 4. It's about 380 yards. 1 from 400 to 450. 4 from 450 to 500. And 3 500 plus. So a very good mix. A wide mix or a wide array of different style par 4s around Black Desert Resort. Again, you'll see these are all from PGA Tour, not Pro Visualizer. So a good mix of par 4s here. And then all par 5s, all 3 par 5s at Black Desert Resort on the scorecard per PGA Tour measure from 550 to 600. And then if you are so curious, here's the estimated proximity per Pro Visualizer. Again, they set up every par 5 is a true 3-shot hole. So really, all 4 par 5s, all 3 par 5s are going to be gone 4 and 2. I don't know how much I want to factor this in. Again, this is just for your information if you are so curious what Pro Visualizer listed as the estimated proximities on each hole. More interested, of course, in this scorecard. These are the hole yardages from the PGA Tour. So in par 5s, we're definitely going to be looking at 550 to 600. Probably going to look at a couple of different par 4s. You know, we're going to take a look at some long par 4s, but we're going to take a look and see who does well on drivable par 4s, because there's 2 very short par 4s here at Black Desert Resort. And then the par 3s, pretty evenly split. So I did want to give you this chart for the evening. I will go ahead and save that and then close it out. And then we'll move to Fantasy National. Again, with the seemingly very wide fairways, very little trouble, very few bunkers, only 2 holes with water in play, I'm thinking this is going to be pretty easy, especially for professionals. This would be my guess. This could change, if I hear differently from other pundits and whatnot. But starting out this week, my focus is going to be that this is going to be pretty easy, a lot like what the Sanderson Farms was. So, when scoring is easy relative to par, in the past 2 years, your top performers have been Chan Kim, Eric Van Rooyen, Peter Quest, Ryo Hitsatsune, Hayden Springer, Harry Hall, Chesson Hadley, Patrick Rogers, Ben Griffin, and Bo Hostler. Not going to do anything with course length, even though this is close to 7,400 yards in length. A little bit misleading considering that the course sits at a little bit of elevation, so the ball will travel a little bit further. Nothing to do with Architect. This is a Tom Weiskopf design. We have not been in Utah in 50 some odd years, so not going to be looking at that. So instead, let's just kind of take a look at some overall big picture view metrics here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with off the tee, considering it seems that the fairways are very forgiving. But I don't know if distance is right either, considering there are a lot of dog legs. Yeah, let's just take a look at off the tee. I suppose when rounds are easy as a starting point for the week would be my guess. So your top off the tee players when rounds are easy: Cameron Champ, Peter Quest, Keith Mitchell, Kevin Doherty, last week's champion Kevin Yu, Tyler Duncan, Patrick Fishburne, Callum Tarrant, Stefan Jaeger, Nick Hardy, and Alejandro Tosti. Definitely don't want to ignore the approach. I think this is going to be where a lot of my focus is this week. We'll take a look at the 2024 season, last 36 rounds. Your top approach players in the last 36 rounds: JJ Spawn, Doug Gim, Chan Kim, Keith Mitchell, Ben Griffin, Nick Hardy, Troy Merritt, David Lipsky, Ches Reavie, and Kevin Yu. I'm going to skip the around the green for now, and we'll just go to putting. We're going to look at bent. Obviously, these are 007 bent greens. Now, the stimp was listed at 12, which would be fast. With no previous information, I don't really feel comfortable putting a speed filter on this. My guess or my assumption will be that they're fast or lightning bent, but we don't really know until we get some data. So we're just going to be looking at bent green putting. So your top bent green performers, or bent grass putters in the past 2 years: Dylan Wu, Mav McNeely, Aaron Baddeley, Harris English, Harry Hall, Justin Lauer, Saying You'll Know, Chandler Phillips, Kevin Kisner, and Taylor Montgomery. This is probably a good opportunity since we're talking about putting. Let's go ahead and bring up the Charles Schwab Challenge from 2024 as Colonial, when they redid their greens this year, they went to this 007 XL bent. So we'll just take a quick casual look, see if we can recognize any of the players who putt well on those greens. Lucas Glover, I believe he's in the field. Yep. So Lucas Glover putt very well at Colonial this year. Hayden Buckley is definitely here. In fact, let's just sort by name. Hayden Buckley. Yep. So Hayden Buckley's here. I would think Kuchar's here. Matt Kuchar. No, Matt Kuchar is not here. Interesting. Okay. So Glover, Buckley, Malnati putt very well at Colonial. S.H. Kim. There's Neesmith, K.H. Lee. Ben Griffin, who missed the cut at Colonial, but at least putt well. So this would be worthwhile to go to. Take a look at the Charles Schwab Challenge from this past year in 2024, particularly who putt well, as those are the same 007 bent. This is the only other course that has that 007 bent. But anyway, there's your top putters on bent greens the past couple of years. The only other thing I think we're going to take a look at, let's just take a look at par fives. Of course, no tournament history that we can look at. This is the first year of the tournament, no historic conditions, so obviously going to be a lot shorter of a show. No early look file, no historical performance, but I don't want to, spend or take a look at everything tonight because we're going to be doing that tomorrow in the data dive as well. So to round out our show this evening, let's just take a look at par fives, par five performance, particularly between 550 and 600. So your top par five performers from 550 to 600 on the PGA Tour this season, beginning all the way back at Kapalua. Patrick Fishburne, Hayden Springer, Keith Mitchell, Seamus Power, Kurt Kitayama, Paul Barjon, Kevin Chappell, Stefan Jaeger, Bill Hawes, and J.J. Spawn. So I will reset this, bring us back to the strokes gained, and let's go last 3 months. And I'll just sort this on the approach, as I do think this is going to be the most used or heaviest weighted metric as I am looking forward this week. But there's a look at our first initial research of Black Desert Resort and the Black Desert Championship. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, supporting the channel, by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. I love what I do, taking a very in-depth look at sports statistics, golf statistics mainly, but sports statistics, giving you a statistician and data analyst's view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. I had a fairly okay week. Again, big congratulations to Gabe with a very, very successful lineup, finishing second in the $3 birdie contest. So quite a great week for Gabe. His social media handle is in the description. You really are missing out if you are not subscribed to his article. So make sure you are doing that. It is free to subscribe to his article. And I will be live tomorrow night for the Data Dive show. So thanks again for all the support. For all the wagers you made this past week at the Sanderson Farms. For all the DFS contests you played this past week at the Sanderson Farms. And until I see you tomorrow night for the Data Dive show, May all your bets be profitable.